So, in just under a year since launch, today marks the end of Rocksteady's support for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. With today's update, brings in Season 8 that gives us the final fight against Brainiac. So, I wanted to talk about that ending and just some thoughts about where that leaves the Arkhamverse in general. It's going to be no script, just me talking off the cuff here about how I felt about that ending because, yes, there's a lot to talk about and just how that leaves the future of the Arkhamverse open. Where do we go from here? Do we go anywhere from here? I wanted to talk about all of that with you today. But very quickly, as always, if comic book games are what you're after, consider subscribing. News, reviews, guides, the full shebang, that's what we cover around here, so I'd love you to stick around. Right, let's talk the ending of Suicide Squad. Look, I wasn't sure what to expect going into this one because on the one hand, it's the final season of Suicide Squad. This is Rocksteady, this is the Arkhamverse. You still expect some kind of delivery. But on the flip side, when Season 7 came along with Deathstroke as a character, great. The Dark Knight Metal Elseworld, great. But as a story package of Episode 7, it was a massive letdown in terms of what we got there because there was like no advancement of the story apart from the couple Brainiacs have been killed off screen. And there was like, knowing that this was going to be the final season, it kind of felt like, okay, Batman still got to be saved, Superman still got to be saved, fuck knows what's going on with Wonder Woman. A lot's got to happen here. And nothing really happened in that one. So going into this one, you're thinking, okay, Batman, Superman, still don't know about them. Again, Wonder Woman, and we've still got the final Brainiac to face off against. Can they pull it off? Can they give some kind of ending? And it's definitely an ending. I think the best way to talk about it is just to showcase my reaction to the final cutscene as it is. So I'll roll that. Goodbye.
So we phased our butts into Brainy's lair and he was steamed. But guess who else showed up?
Brainiac, that's enough. Kryptonian, you're indubitably too disco-populated to fight. Don't you know, Brainiac? Anything's possible with a little help from your friends.
Thought he meant us for a second, but of course he meant bats. Ow! Bat says,
The criminals.
that's us, did well following his plan. Though how'd we figure out Brainy had cloned the League? We were like, there were clones? Anyway, we totally laid it out. If we took him back, Walla would make them into even bigger tools. More importantly, she'd totally 86 us. Soup said the League needs to atone for everything that happened. Starting with freeing all the folks Brainy tentacle napped, then putting as many worlds right as they can. As for us, we had a plan too. Did I mention the Wonder Trio of Hack, Flawless, and Toy Boy shorted out our bombs? That's important for the next part. At the end of the day, this squad sticks together. Why not do it out there in the Elseworlds instead of a frickin' prison block? Road trip! Don't you love a happy ending? Even Waller gets to say she saved the world. And she will, if she knows what's good for her. Suicide Squad out!
Look, I've covered this game since launch, and I've had a good time doing so. There's obviously a lot of problems that I will talk about in my full review of this game. No doubt, there's a lot of stuff that is just actively awful, but there are some redeeming elements, and I'm going to be honest, I do feel that way about it, but this ending was bad. Like, this is the concluding chapter, basically, of Kevin Conroy's Batman, like, Batman Arkham, and there is nothing more fitting than Harley Quinn narrate. Like, there's nothing that has a bigger summation of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League than Harley Quinn narrating the final animated cutscene where Batman comes back. Now, obviously, this game's support was cut way earlier. They had to cram it all together and obviously put some kind of makeshift ending. And I am thankful that, unlike many live service games where they promise 4 seasons and they give you 2 and they just cut it short, Rocksteady committed to the 4 seasons. WB, in credit, in fairness to them, in credit to them, they saw it through. And I do commend that. Obviously, it's not the ending I wanted to see. It's not the ending anybody wanted to see, truth be told. I don't think anyone watches that ending and goes, yeah, like, this is what the Arkhamverse is all about. Like, this is the production level that we expect and the quality. And this is Arkham Batman. It's redeemed what happened in the main story. It hasn't. And, like, I still speak about the fact that I'm disgusted by the way people use that story moment and attack Rocksteady and attack Kevin's legacy and use that against him. I don't like that. I really don't like that. To see this as what could be the concluding moment in the Arkhamverse, like, it's a travesty for what is, for me, the greatest superhero video game franchise there is. My favorite video game franchise there is. I love the Batman Arkham games, every single one of them. Origins, Blackgate, Arkham VR, I don't give a shit. I love them all right? But to see Suicide Squad end like this, it's just sad that that's what's happened with how this game's turned out. Because there's no doubt in my mind that what would have happened probably would have been a full produced cutscene with Batman and Superman and actually fighting Brainiac. Because there's elements in this boss fight. You see Green Lantern coming in, and he's got his construct around you and he's shielding you. The Flash is doing tornado stuff. But they're not there. And it's obviously because there just wasn't the resources to give this the ending that I'm sure Rocksteady originally envisioned with Suicide Squad. And that obviously hasn't come to fruition. And it's a damn shame. And, I'm not gonna make myself angry over the internet just to farm interactions or anything like that. I'm disappointed. You can see it in the clip how, kind of detached I am from it. There's no other word than just disappointed about it. But at the same time, it was kind of expected, right? And I guess that kind of leads to the question now of where does the Arkhamverse go from here? Because Kevin Conroy has unfortunately passed. I would never in a million, billion, trillion years dream of having some kind of AI version of Kevin Conroy. You can fuck off with that. I think Roger Craig Smith is an excellent Batman, but I think he's a really good young Batman. He's not really someone that I would envision continuing that. And I do think that with the way Suicide Squad has gone, Rocksteady will just go back to Batman. It just makes too much financial sense. It's the heritage of Rocksteady Studios from what's made them the prestige studio they are. I worry personally as someone from the UK that the UK gaming business is very depleted, and Rocksteady is one of the big tentpole studios out here. And like I say, the Arkham franchise is my favorite gaming franchise. So for me, I spoke about it. I would love to see a Batman Arkham game that takes place after Suicide Squad. I think there's really great potential there of having Bruce have to come to terms with the shit that has happened in the wake of him getting taken over by Brainiac and what his clone has done and how that damages his reputation. You could have the League of Shadows creep in there and really take hold of the city. You could have Hush come in and do some extra damage to Bruce's reputation now that everybody knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman. Bat family stuff. We don't know for sure if Robin died in Suicide Squad, but there's the implication that he at least very severely hurt him, if not killed him. I think there's a lot of stuff they can do there that would tell a very different Arkham story than what we've got previously from Rocksteady in particular. And if they're not to do that, then I think just pivot away. I think go to Batman Beyond, do something different, or what I can actually see happening is just a completely different Batman game. Out of the Arkhamverse, if the Arkhamverse is to continue, maybe it's over at Camouflage, who have proved that they know what to do. They did an excellent job of Arkham Shadows, and maybe that's what happens. I don't know. I'm just in my backseat, just talking about it, just because out of pure love for the franchise. But I don't see anything other than a Batman project for Rocksteady next. I'd love to be wrong. Batman's my favorite superhero, but it's like, DC, you got anything else? It's like, we got Batman. It's like, oh, that's how it feels right now. And nobody knows what's happening with the Wonder Woman game. It is radio silence on that. Probably not going to hear, maybe we'll get a trailer this year or some kind of reintroduction. WB Montreal, nobody knows. They've said they're licensing games out, but I don't really know. I think that's a topic for another day, really, in terms of where WB are at. But the Arkhamverse, I would not be surprised as this being the end of it. I know some people don't want to consider it as canon. If that's what you don't want to do, then fair enough, don't do it. But to me, it is. And there are some really cool moments within the main story here. I've enjoyed elements of the gameplay, but to see it go out with such a wet fart, you know, it sucks. It just flat out sucks to see. And we've seen it with other iconic studios. We've seen what happened with BioWare. Even Marvel's Avengers didn't even get any kind of ending, truth be told. It just had a character that they dropped and then it kind of just happened. So I'm happy personally that, you know, we do see some kind of ending here with Suicide Squad. I just have a really hard time wondering where we go next with this, if there is to be a sequel, because the loss of Kevin is massive. You know, he's my Batman. I've spoken about this many times that I wouldn't want anybody else in that Arkhamverse shoes to fill in after him. Roger Craig Smith before him makes perfect sense, and I think he's a phenomenal Batman. But Kevin Conroy is the guy for me. He's always will be, like, from the animated series, Batman animated series, Justice League Unlimited, to the various DC animated movies he's been in, to obviously how he's established himself here with the Batman Arkham franchise. Like, iconic doesn't even do him justice. So I think it's going to be really interesting where they go next with the Arkhamverse. I don't know if you continue to call it the Arkhamverse. There was talk from James Gunn that no, Suicide Squad won't be the last Arkhamverse entry. Technically, he was right, because we've got Arkham Shadows that nobody saw coming. But I just don't know where you take this now. I like I said, there is ideas that you can do, but do you recast the role? And again, I'm sure there is multiple great actors out there, but with what's happened with Suicide Squad in terms of the overall reception, with what's happened with obviously losing Kevin Conroy, with the implications of Suicide Squad, whether that be Robin, whether that be the way the characters are here and how much has passed. We've lost a lot of characters in the Arkhamverse in general. We've lost, well, I was going to say we've lost Poison Ivy, but then there's the weird stuff with Child Ivy here. We've obviously seen a lot of character progression with how Harley's here, and one thing I would actually be a fan of is the Arkhamverse continuing but pivoting away from Batman. And that's as the biggest, you know, he's my favourite guy, man. But I think that the Arkhamverse has a lot of potential to continue to grow, because it's Rocksteady. You can say a lot about Suicide Squad, but again, there really is that stapled Rocksteady world building here of DC. That this Metropolis they crafted here is phenomenal. There was a moment when I was on stream before and I was playing it, and the sunset like cast over Metropolis, and Brainiac's ship was just there, and I was like, wow. If this was anything else, you know, people would be screaming about how fantastic this looks. But yeah, it's a difficult situation. I'm personally, there's a lot of conversation is this the same Rocksteady? Do they still have it? I have a lot of confidence that they can still produce something. When I look at Suicide Squad, and maybe not everyone is still working there who did work on this game, but when I look at the character models, when I look at the presentation, when I look at the traversal kits, for a lot of what is here, there is some really excellent stuff that it still feels good to play. Is there enemy types that I fucking despise? Yes, there is. Do I enjoy the boss fights here? No, I don't. But there's a lot of stuff here that there is redeeming elements to Suicide Squad that doesn't mean that separates it from long-time Batman Arkham enjoyers. That means no, they don't get anything out of it here. But even down to when this game was allowed to get deeply cinematic and really ingrained within arenas rather than like big boss fight arenas, I'm looking at the two Batman encounters and I'm thinking, that's good. Like, that's really good DC comic stuff. And even the renditions of the Justice League here, they're brilliant. Like Superman, like that's Superman right there. And Green Lantern, I mean, if the DCU Green Lantern looks anywhere near as good as the one that we got here, I'll be happy, man. I love the Arkhamverse universe, and even if it pivots away from Batman, I think they can still continue this universe and this story. I just don't know if Rocksteady are going to do anything that isn't Batman, because they need the hit. The WB want a hit, Rocksteady need a hit. It's a tumultuous time for the video games industry right now. I don't want to add any more pressure. God knows, I'm sure they all feel it. And it would be a massive, massive loss to the industry to lose something like Rocksteady. I would hate to see that day. As a studio that have made my favorite game and made my favorite game franchise, I would be genuinely sad to see anything like that happen. But I genuinely have faith that whatever they produce next, I think will be good. When if you strip away the live service elements here, there is a very good backbone. The traversal of it, how the gunplay actually felt, I thought was pretty good. When they're allowed to be single player, where the Batman is stalking you, it's good. The DC world building is good. And for someone who had no experience in loot and build crafting, it's one of the shining aspects of the game. Like, what the visual effects, how it appear on your character, but the build crafting here, if it was actually surrounded by good, fun activities that were varied and had depth to them, people would sing about the build crafting. It wasn't the best in Season 0, but when they tweaked it and added buffs, genuinely, and I've played a lot of looter shooters, I've played a lot of Destiny, Diablo, Borderlands, I'm telling you, it's actually up there, but the problem is it's surrounded by such fodder that it never amounts to anything, because you're just still doing the exact same stuff that I was doing from Season 0 on launch day to how I've just finished the game here. So, yeah. Just, that was a really long way of me saying that I think Rocksteady have still got what it takes to cook up a great video game from the team that is still there now. I hope they're given the chance to. And yeah, that's kind of what I have to say about kind of the future of Arkhamverse. The truth is, I don't know. Only Rocksteady do, and WB do at the top. And the sad part is, with the reflection of how long video games take to make now, 4 or 5 years, and like, it wouldn't shock me if we don't see Rocksteady's game till 2030. And the idea of having 2 video games in 15 years is sad. From a studio that created, I believe, over a 6-year period, the trilogy from, I think Arkham Asylum was 2009. I want to say 2009. And then Arkham Knight was obviously 2015, because it's a 10th year anniversary this year. So then 2 years, and one of them being obviously what has been a dud in Suicide Squad. But yeah, that's all I've really got to say. I've enjoyed making content on Suicide Squad, despite the many, many, many shortcomings of the game. There are some redeeming factors here, but I'm keen to see where the Arkhamverse goes next at the end of the day. It was a rough ending, a bad ending, a terrible ending, if I'm being honest. There is, as I said, no greater summation of Suicide Squad than ending with Harley Quinn narrating one final fight against Brainiac. And yeah, even the fight against Brainiac being the best of Brainiac, of fighting him with the Flash and Green Lantern and then the Superman version, and it just ended. But at the end of the day, we saw an ending, which is more than you can say about a lot of live service games that do bomb. So I'm grateful for that aspect of it, at least. But that's all I've got to say. And I want to know, what did you think about the game's ending? This was just off the cuff, just some rambling thoughts, some passionate thoughts about where we're at with Arkhamverse, how Suicide Squad ended. But I'd love to know, what do you want to see Rocksteady do next? Does any of the ideas that I said sound good to you, with a sequel to Suicide Squad, but being a Batman game and dealing with the fallout of everything that happened here with the Bat family, with Gotham, with having to kind of re-earn that reputation, especially now that everyone knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman? Or do you want Batman Beyond? Or do you want some kind of flashpoint and we get a complete timeline reset? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed hearing my thoughts and me just rambling on and just talking to you at the camera, I'd appreciate you just dropping a like. And like I said, it's what I do here. Just cover comic book games content, news, reviews, guides, thoughts like this, where I'm just rambling all my thoughts out there. I'd love for you to stick around, so, maybe consider subscribing. You can find all my socials in the description down below, so if you have anything else for me, you can find me there. Regardless, I hope you have a terrific day. Play games, get gains. I'll catch you next one.